Thank you everyone for joining us today to celebrate the launch of Ai Weiwei's 3 perfectly proportioned spheres and camouflage uniforms painted white here in Pavilion 13. Commissioned by Ribbon International and with a public program curated by Pavilion of Culture, this exhibition is welcoming you. To bring together the ideas, processes, and themes present in the work, joining us today are these remarkable voices. First of all, it's Ai Weiwei, the world's renowned Chinese artist and activist who decades long work challenges authority and reimagines freedom through art. And Maksym Butkevych, nice to meet you. Journalist, war veteran, and human rights defender, known for his tireless fight for dignity and justice. Together, we are more than welcome to see you here, and we are ready to start our conversation. Thank you.
Okay, so in the first place, I would like to say it's an honor for me to be here today, and it's an honor to meet Ai Weiwei. Thank you very much for doing this in Kyiv, Ukraine these days, and thank you very much to all of you for coming. My first question is not regarding this particular work. We'll proceed to this later on. But it's very far from the first of your visits to Ukraine. You visited Ukraine quite often recently. What was, if there was anything, the most striking in your visits? You've met so many people, soldiers, farmers, artists, railway workers. What struck you the most?
It's nice to be here. And I think there's so many experience from some factory or workers or farmers or military and soldiers. What struck me is the unity. I think it's a tragic time, 3 years in war, and many people lost their lives. But still, I cannot imagine the whole society are unified. And also, I met many people. They're pretty young, but in the leadership position, and they make precise decisions and. Quite open for discussion.
Currently, the notion of solidarity has a new overtone in Ukrainian society, because solidarity is something that actually makes unity possible, but we also treasure very much international solidarity. People from different corners of the globe who come to express their support and to support Ukraine in tangible terms, physically. What is solidarity for you? How important is it currently, not only in Ukraine, but in different parts of the world?
Well, solidarity means people have a clear understanding about the purpose, what they want to achieve, and why they have to suffer, and what can they contribute for this effort. So in that sense, it gives hope.
It gives hope to those with whom solidarity is expressed, but also to those who express this solidarity, isn't it? Those who express this solidarity, they have hope as well. Does expressing solidarity with Ukraine, does it give hope to you?
I think what in every struggle, we all share some understanding about humanity, human dignity, and also freedom of speech, all those all those values should be universal. So we also say anybody is fighting for those values are fighting for everyone. So of course it gave me, that's why I'm here. So.
Thank you very much for being here. You are here with the project Three Perfectly Proportional Spheres and the Camouflage Painted White. Can you tell a little bit more about how this project originated, how the idea came to you, and when?
To make a work in a country like Ukraine is not a simple decision. I already made over 100 one-person shows, but to come to Ukraine to do a work is not an easy decision. First, I have to get to know the society. You know, I don't want to just bring some works to a location and set it up, which means nothing to me, and it's not really, will not benefit even to show those works. So, under long-time consideration, because I was invited by Raven, and at the beginning I was hesitated. Then later I see the sincerity of this organization, and the war already happens over 2 years. That time, I think maybe is a moment I can do some works here. So what to do is always a question. As an artist, you're not just trying to do something politically right, or if that would be too easy. You don't even need artworks to do that. So if you have to find a right language, and the language relate to myself, relate to the current political condition under the living environment. So I'm doing this three spheres in this building is, I think it's built during the Russian period. Yes. And it's have a clear character of early modernism architecture. And of course, the history shifted. So from a mine museum or exhibition hall, today it become a culture center. So with all those in mind, I have to come out a concept. So I'm doing this, what you have seen here, you see the white colored military type of uniforms, which is not really military. Is I designed a fabric with the cats. Those cats has been living with me since 15 years ago. And we rescued many cats. So I made it looks like a military camouflage, but it's not real. I don't want to touch some subjects that I'm not completely involved. So we made, we ordered a Ukrainian military outfit and to give to a factory to make those clothes exactly the same. Then we use those fabrics, those suit, to cover a kind of sphere which was designed during Renaissance time by Da Vinci, you know, the master, and they are very fascinated about the shape. The title he used is Divina of Proportion. That kind of work I did also maybe 15 years ago when I was in China. So I combined this military clothes and button them together, which also have history. I did in the 1990, which is 35 years ago. Military clothes from China, 5 of them buttoned together to form a star. So it's a complicated history because it has to relate to me and also has to relate to current situation. So to paint it white is come from one incident when I present this to the committee, to my projects. One of the lady come from Ukraine. She is only one presenting the team. She was quite emotional. She said, maybe those military shapes, patterns would make people come to see the show feel sad. I have a different opinion on that because we are in the war zone. People, I would not say should be proud, but at least we're not against those images. But actually, I did a compromise to comfort her. I said, don't worry, I color it white. So it's acceptable. I'm not saying that too casually because I did works to white color, painted Neolithic vases 30 years ago. Just, those kind of antiques. I just used household paint, covered it. So it raised many questions. What is the image? What is the image under an image? The show I'm doing in New York opened 3 days ago. It's called a Camouflage, which also uses this similar design of what I'm using in this exhibition. So sorry to answer any question. It's a lot of details.
No, these details are important actually, because for me personally, it's important to.
Very sorry, Tim, but can we ask for this thing so everyone will hear you talk a little bit better? Yeah, thank you.
Hello. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. This is the room they're choosing. The room is bad place for conversation. You have a lot of echoes and stuff. But okay, you want it?
We'll pass it from one to another. To me, these details are important, for instance, because to me it is very interesting to know that original design did not include painting camouflage white, because you probably know there are different interpretations already, and there will be more interpretations. But before going to that, figures of animals, of cats, you mentioned. I cannot, to avoid asking these questions. Recently, I had a conversation with a well-known Ukrainian sociologist, Ella Libanova, and she told me that in years of war, Ukrainian society started to care about animals much more than before, about both domestic and stray cats and dogs. She thinks it says quite a lot about society itself. Do you think so, that how we treat animals is a reflection of something deeper about our society.
You mean in Ukrainian society or in general?
In general and in particular.
Well, I recently made a film called Animality. Take us about 10 years to achieve a film in talking about the different locations in the world globally, and the different religious background, different living traditions, how they relate themselves to animals. And yeah, I think the film it just come out, but it's a little bit harsh to watch because there's scenery. People just think maybe it's too graphic, but that's real life. You know, we cannot just not to recognize the animals' rights or animal. You know, we always say all man created equal, but all life created equal. So, but to really recognize that is not so difficult, but as a living life, we already have our own, you know, we're also part of the chain of development, and this is the reality. So, of course, animals has been hurt during the pandemic or during the war. It's the same. You know, they always someone being blamed or being abandoned.
Well, like sharing one microphone, you know, it has something to do with sharing important things, I hope. Coming back to Camouflage, which covers these three divine proportionally spheres. In Ukraine currently, Camouflage is a sign of a defender, someone who defends Ukraine, defends people, and at least I hope that what we see, Ukrainians have a lot of respect towards people who wear camouflage because it is a sign of protection. And if I might share my first personal impression from your project, when I have seen it in the picture, it was about the divine proportions which are connected in a way which to me reminds of a human bone, about something very humane and something beautiful, but which needs to be protected, which needs to be treasured and, if necessary, defended. But I've seen a lot of different reactions specifically towards you painting camouflage white, because it kind of maybe, from one point of view, removes the function of protection. It makes a person visible. On the other hand, maybe white is the only color which can be assigned to divine proportions. Are you open to different interpretations of your work? And what do you expect Ukrainian public to see maybe in different ways in it?
Well, I cannot argue with any kind of interpretation, but as artists, I give my interpretation. You know, if you think white color, if you say whitewash, I have earlier work called whitewash. That can means you paint something white, but also it can means your politically brainwash people from the truth. That's also can be called whitewash. So in some societies, this is very, very common practice. especially society I come from. But white means very different things in different society, you know. And in the hospital, all those nurses in China, they've been called white angels, you know, because they wear white clothes. I think in the Middle East, all the people who pass away, they use white fabrics to wrap them to show the highest respect to loss of life. So this is, we're living in an interesting world only because we have a very interesting descriptions of what appear to be. And also we try to imagine what is the meaning under there. So actually, I don't care how other people think about it.
When it comes to brainwashing and regimes which practice it on everyday basis, I was dealing with assisting refugees in Ukraine for many years as a human rights activist. You explored the topic of forced migration and refugees in depth, and you created Human Flow. We see that many politicians in many countries of the world now capitalize upon fear of migrants, fear of strangers, outsiders coming in, and they get a lot of votes. Do we want it or not? Why is it so? I really hope that current tragic situation when there are so many Ukrainian refugees abroad will help Ukrainian society to understand the fate of refugees better, also from other countries. But why do you think so many people around the world are so ready to be afraid of others and are ready to vote for those who will brainwash them to incite this fear towards the others? And also, will you continue to do anything about human migration and refugees?
Well, I am a refugee, and I say if you go to certain countries, there's a lot of refugees. Like I just come from New York. I think everyone from New York is migration. This you know, this is a country only have a 250 years of history. So, but still now, what happens in U.S., they have policies to really trying to clean out the new migrants, such like maybe Chinese, maybe Mexicans, or, you know, since it just happened like that, you know, people have no clear philosophical or even humanitarian understanding about who we are, but rather trying to gain some immediate political support. So by doing that is to divide people, to say, okay, this is your land and you are privileged, and the others just take opportunity from you. So this is very common practice. It happens in the past, tragically, happens now. I'm sure it's going to still happen in the future, because we see people are trying just to invade other nation or other locations, and to acclaim that's their position. So this is, it's always happened that way. So of course, the only way I think is right is not to see the difference, but to see the similarity, to trying to create a conversation and trying to admit we're all the same, we're all refugees on this planet. You know, it's even the planet the human life is short and temporary. Nothing guaranteed the human civilization will continue.
Do you think that art can be a vehicle for such a conversation, for transcending the boundaries between different communities and maybe to try to put someone in the other person's shoes, a refugee, an outsider?
I don't know the really function of art, but I would say art is not science, and art is not just rational conclusion, but rather talk about our temperature, or emotions, or fear, and also it's really about human feelings. So as long as we are human, I think the art is a very, very important part of our life, because it works with our memory and our feelings, which cannot clearly replaced by scientific development, because as human being, we are living in some kind of mysterious condition, life being given, and a period of time it will be vanished, finished. So we have to, artists somehow trying to keep ourselves attached to who we are, and not to be carried away by this kind of clear scientific conclusions, which is important, but we still need the temperature, the color, and the tone of the sound, and all those shapes, forms, and what is the meaning under those shapes and forms. So I think that cannot be scientifically cleared out.
In some of your interviews, you said that freedom maybe does not exist, but you also said that art is freedom. And you re-emphasized it in the most recent interview with Serhiy Zhadan. And also it was made very clear that you cannot, for instance, go to Russia now with your project, any of your projects, and to be there. Ukrainians, I think, learned the hard way that freedom needs to be treasured and nurtured and protected and defended. You currently live in the European Union. This is usually referred to as a European value. Do you think Europeans understand that freedom needs to be protected?
Well, you raise very complicated questions. There's many levels. So what is freedom? If I said art is freedom, means art is constantly seeking for questions. So the real freedom is when you can conquer the obstacles. That means freedom. Freedom in the generally are being misunderstood is someone give you the freedom, like very common in Europe. People think, oh, we have freedom, but they cannot tell you how and why they have the freedom. If they have freedom, someone must pay the grand price, great price for what they have today. So very often people will not even think about what price has been paid and who pays those prices. So I think in general we say we think, oh, we have freedom. I don't really understand what he's talking about. But as you mentioned, it's very important to take Ukraine's hard lesson to understand the so-called freedom requires a defending of basic human dignity. Without that, the kind of freedom is just an illusion. It's not, when we talk about why freedom is precious only because we made effort to defend it or to seeking for it, then that becomes precious. Otherwise, it's a meaningless words.
To me, freedom was most tangible when I was released from captivity. After spending 2 years and 4 months as prisoner of war, I was released and I felt this freedom of choice, basic choices in my everyday life. You spend more than 80 days in detention as well at some point. But it is related to human dignity, because in detention, in captivity, your human dignity is not observed. Currently, one can hear quite often that concepts like human dignity, individual freedom, human rights are relative, that they are Western concepts and they cannot apply to, say, Russia or China, for that matter. This relativist point of view that those who defend human dignity, they come from Western perspective. Would you agree with that?
Well, this seems directly point to China, Russia, North Korea, but I think that's only half of the picture. The other half of the picture, when Western talk about the human dignity, they not refer to Gaza. They not refer to thousands of people being killed, women, children. They close their eyes. They don't think those are human. So we cannot just point to one side of the world, which is very dangerous. That also Ukraine would face in this kind of dangers, because your value should really based on individuals' understanding about right or wrong, rather just point to another side of the world.
You protested against authoritarianism for your whole artistic and political life. When Donald Trump became the president for the first time, during his first presidential term, you had political project actually about his policies. Now he is back, and we see the rise of authoritarian regimes all over the world, more or less. We see more people voting for the right-wing populists in Europe. We see imperialistic Russia with its own ideology of Russian world. We see in other places authoritarian politicians coming to surface. How do you feel about it? You were protesting against it for so long, and now it seems to be on the rise. And in this landscape, where do you see Ukraine, Russia, China? What is their role in this landscape? I know it's several questions in one, but yeah.
Can you make it simpler?
Yeah, are you not disappointed about the rise of authoritarianism while you were protesting against it for so long? And will you continue to do that?
Of course, I was totally disappointed when I was in China. That's why I made the fight, and I take the consequence. I have to leave that location. But I've been out for 10 years. I also experienced what happens in the West, in United States, and also other places. And the US president is not first time president, he's twice elected. So he's a product of the so-called democratic society, right? You call it a democratic society, but his action today, almost every move is totalitarian action. Some actions are more totalitarian action than China and Russia in many ways. So we cannot use old concept to describe a new game. This is a very complete new game after globalization. And you have big companies, also, which is not United States or China or Russia anymore. They are investing in Russia, in China, and investing in the United States. So the old concept doesn't work that way anymore. So we have to find out that we are living in a very different world.
And we see that we live in a different world. If we take an active stance, you were described so many times as an activist. So if we are activists and we want to do something to prevent this surge of authoritarianism, do you have a picture in mind what activists could do in a climate like this?
Well, I've been called as an activist. I never accept that word because I see most activists are not so charming. And, yes, I understand why they're activists perfectly, but the language they use or the way of it's not so convincing, I would say. And but for individuals, I think I would always consider myself as an individual, a single life. I'm already very old. I don't have many years to stay here. So I would say try not to be taking the kind of existing concepts, because when you're taking those existing values, that means you lost yourself. Doesn't matter in what kind of society. You can call it, freedom society, or, in the other society, you also have art, also have literature, have poetry. Those come from individuals, not come from a society. So I would say just be yourself is most important, but be yourself is most difficult, because how can you find out how much left you still have as oneself if you're taking away all those brainwashed or white-collared or all those kind of education or value being put in your head, then what is still you have,
And currently in Ukraine, one of the concepts which is discussed a lot is the concept of responsibility. It is also about us being responsible for what happens to our country, to our society, to every one of us, but also about those people on the other side who are brainwashed, or those who are just passive, that they are responsible as well. Do you think we are responsible for non-acting, not doing the right thing, in the same way we are responsible for what we do?
Well, then first we have to ask where this responsibility come from. It should come from certain privilege we have been given and certain values we think we care about. Then we have a responsibility to protect it. So it's very, if you don't feel that way, then you, of course, you're careless. Then you don't have to, people very often, they don't care. And the one who cares, they care. The one who doesn't care, you cannot force them to care. It's not possible.
In your projects, you also dealt in different ways with memory. You worked with cultural heritage, but you also documented names of children who became victims of 2008 Sichuan earthquake. Currently in Ukraine, we pay a lot of attention to our cultural heritage, and there are a lot of initiatives for documentation of Russian war crimes and memorialization of victims of those crimes and also of fallen Ukrainian soldiers. It seems that memory became more and more important to us. How important memory is when it comes to those who we are and what we do. And is this why in occupied territories Russians try to erase memory and heritage to that extent?
Well, the memory, if there's, I really think memory is important. Recent years, I did a book on they call it a memo, but it's memory about my father and where I growing up. So I realized without memory, I'm nothing. I cannot live just day by day like a newly born baby. I have to find out the roots, where, how I become Ai Weiwei today and what made me like this. Even I don't want to be like this, still I cannot avoid it. We call it fate. That means fate. That means you're being designed by certain logic. You may not even know. And that also bears responsibility. What do you care about? So I think memory is very important, but to find the memory is not easy, because all those truths is not the facts. Very often we see truths, different society have those so-called truths, but that not exactly is the facts. That's why I also did many documentaries, and now we are still working on a film in Ukraine. That's why I keep coming back, because we have to get enough facts to establish some kind of truth and a memory. So that, and I think any nation or individual, if they don't know where they come from or they don't care about it, I think it's a very irresponsible society or individual. That's how I feel.
Thank you, because, recently, especially in Russian propaganda, facts don't matter. Russian propaganda says that facts don't matter and that there is no one truth, that there are many different truths depending what side you are on. Do you believe in that?
If I say I believe that, you think Russian will welcome me?
To me, one more thing which is related to concepts of human dignity and truth is justice. You protested against injustice. in so many different instances. I have recently been asked the broadest possible question, if I believe in justice, that justice can be done in Ukraine and internationally. May I redirect this question to you? Do you believe in justice?
I would not say I believe in human justice, but I believe in universal justice. Human justice, if you look at the history, rarely human justice has been achieved. And very often when you think it's justice, it's not really justice. So, but in universe, there's how the physics works. And that, I believe in that because I cannot even figure out what it's really about.
And maybe my last question to you. In one of your projects, you had this special part which was called With Respect, where people could sign postcards to prisoners. Currently, unfortunately, there are many Ukrainian prisoners of war and civilians in detention who are held in Russia or in occupied territories. Some of them can receive letters and postcards, the minority, unfortunately. You also recalled in your memoirs that when your father in exile received a postcard, it meant a lot to him because it manifested that there is an outside world, that it exists. And I should say that the cards and the letters have this effect to any detainee. It had this effect to myself. If you had a chance to write a postcard to Ukrainian prisoners in Russian detention, what would you write?
Stay alive.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I would like to give you this little souvenir. It's a pin with symbol of solidarity with Ukrainian prisoners of war. It's a pin, you can wear it if you like. And thank you very much for this conversation, Weiwei. I really hope you will be enjoying the rest of your stay and perception of Ukrainian public. Thank you. Thanks a lot. It's an honor to me. Thank you.